Welcome to the Israel Daily News Podcast. I'm your host, Shanna Folds, and I'm here to get you caught up quickly. I've got some top news stories for you today from Israel, and guess what? You're listening. So you're all already on top of your game. Survive and thrive, people. Knowledge is the best weapon. Today is Wednesday, September 7th, 2022 in the Gregorian calendar, and the 11th of Elul 5782 in the Hebrew calendar. Now, let's get to the news. The Times of Israel has an exclusive about the Iran nuclear deal. They say that for now, it's off the table. They say Prime Minister Yair Lapid recently spoke with the U.S. President Joe Biden and his administration, who've been pushing for this deal. They say having diplomatic relations with Iran is better than not having the relationship at all, and they believe they can curtail Iran's nuclear program with an agreement, or a renewed agreement. Israel provided evidence in 2018 that during the initial Iran deal, the country had not kept its word and were secretly stockpiling uranium, and that they still are. Iran is outwardly anti-Israel and has warned that it will try to blow Israel off the face of the map. With this, Israel is against a deal of any kind and has been pushing U.S. officials to steer clear of working with the Iranians. Seems like that is working in the meantime. Analysts expect Yair Lapid to use this win for his next run for prime minister. He's currently the interim prime minister. We have an election coming on November 1st. Parents from the north of Israel have been indicted in the Haifa District Court for raping their daughter for 13 years. The 61 and 62-year-old couple from the north were charged with serious sexual offenses, including rape, indecent acts, and acts of sodomy that they committed against her. Ruling the household with an iron fist, it was also revealed that the father impregnated his daughter, but after giving birth, the 9-month-old baby that she had died due to illness. The young woman has just turned 17 years old at this point and says she filed a criminal complaint before, but police closed her case. Her message, as detailed in the reports that are out, is for women to continue to speak up about being raped, even when officials all around them make it uncomfortable, difficult, and treat women with disbelief. The woman and her 36-year-old sister worked together on this case. The hospital played a role by revealing that the woman had delivered her father's baby. She is one of 5 children and says she grew up in a home of poverty, drug use, and prostitution. Mariam Hajjaj, a 14-year-old girl who, despite serious injuries, survived a shooting in Lod on Monday. Lod is a city in central Israel. The latest news on this is that she will not be permitted to attend the funeral of her mother, Manar, or her twin sister, Kadra. This is the latest in an unrelenting wave of killings in Israel's Arab community, and as such, the police have reported she will be staying in a safe house due to concrete threats to her life. End quote. The incident happened as the mom was unpacking groceries from her car with the kids inside. Reports say she was shot at from close range, and investigators believe the shooting is all part of an ongoing gang dispute. Ms. Hajjaj's husband has long been suspected of killing a romantic partner of his, and now the family may be trying to take revenge. 2 of the man's sons were convicted for being a part of the murder, and they served 10 years behind bars. On Monday, Swiss prosecutors demanded a French-Israeli businessman, Benny Steinmetz, serve his prison sentence for an extensive corruption case involving unlawful mining that his business conducted in Guinea. His defense, Daniel Kinzer, slammed the prosecution's lawsuit, calling it very weak, insisting the lower court had come to an erroneous and unjust conclusion. The 66-year-old mining tycoon, who made his fortune in diamonds, has already been sentenced by a lower court in January of 2021 to a 5-year prison term and was ordered to pay 50 million Swiss francs, or 52 million US dollars, in compensation. Guinea is rich in iron ore. In an earlier lower court trial, Steinmetz was charged with bribing the wife of the former Guinea president to get lucrative mining rights for those. and that would give him an unfair advantage in the market. If you are getting caught up on your Israel Daily News, we'd like you to consider sending over a monthly contribution at anchor.fm/Israel Daily News. The financial support we get from subscribers helps us maintain our show and helps us continue to grow and try to reach new audiences. Trust me, you guys. All of the funds that you are sending are going right into the business, and I can't even tell you the things that come up. Thank you so much. Subscribers, you will get a handwritten thank you note and a little poem that I write myself to let you know how thrilled we are to have your support. If you haven't received a thank you note from me, and you know that you did not send me your address, please do. I'm waiting for an address from one person via email at shannafuld, that's SHANNAFULD @gmail.com. And to all of my loyal listeners listening today, thank you for your interest in Israeli affairs, Israeli politics, our world politics. We have one link in the show notes which you can click on, and that'll take you to the page where you too can make a contribution and feel good knowing that you're supporting independent journalism. So check that out at anchor.fm/Israel Daily News. You can also support us by leaving us a review on Apple Podcasts. 2, you can share the show with a friend, and 3, you can follow us on Facebook at israeldaily.news, as well as Shannafuld. My name has 2 N's in it, and I'm very sensitive about that. You can also find us on Twitter at Israel Podcast. Israeli transport officials are warning that Israel needs to start planning stronger public transportation routes. Otherwise, there will be, quote, an ultimate traffic disaster in 5 years. The transportation ministry opened a new route in Jerusalem, which is expected to serve 40% of commuters entering the city. The new road, which is named after the late Prime Minister Ariel Sharon, cost nearly 1 billion shekels, or around $300 million to make. It opened last week, 1 year ahead of schedule. Despite the new road, Nissim Peretz, CEO of Israel's National Transport Infrastructure Company, says the new road is okay, but new roads should not be the focus. New routes for public transportation should be. He referred to the Gush Dan metropolitan area, also known as the Dan Block, as a complete disaster. The Dan Block is the urban area that includes Tel Aviv and several other central Israeli cities and towns up and down the Mediterranean coast. He explains that all the big transportation plans are 15 years down the line, but within 5 years, we're going to have an ultimate traffic disaster, meaning people just won't be able to get around at all. So he's urging for work to be done on that today. Boy, oh boy, I cannot get enough of these archaeological stories. Let me know if you love them as much as I do. An ancient script from the First Temple period, a time where Jews lived in Jerusalem and prayed at the temple, has been uncovered and then identified by a professor of Bible and archaeology. The scroll comes from around the 6th or 7th century BCE, and the only other 2 documents on record from this time period are the Dead Sea Scrolls. The 3 papyri, which is plural for papyrus, are able to stay preserved because the dry climate of the Judean desert from which they come protects them. Now, here's the surprising part. I don't think you're ready for this. The document has actually been in Montana in the United States since 1965, when a woman was gifted it from an antiquities dealer here in Israel. Well, the Israel Antiquities Authority has the scroll now, where it is being properly stored and looked after. All right. Well, that is it for today's show. Today is Wednesday, September 7th, 2022. Tel Aviv has a low of 25 degrees Celsius and a high of 29 degrees. That's 75 degrees Fahrenheit for the low, going up to 85 degrees for the high. Subscribe to the Israel Daily News podcast on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or wherever you're hearing it from. We are everywhere. Don't forget to sign up to our Israel Weekly News Wrap. It's a newsletter with the top 5 stories coming out of Israel from throughout the week. I also usually add in a few personal anecdotes so you can get the inside scoop on what's going on in my personal life. And I always mention our professional highlights from the Israel Daily News podcast. You can sign up for that on our website at israeldaily.news. Thank you to Michelle Milner for her social media work on our Instagram page, israeldaily.news, and Dan Matheson, our Israel Daily News podcast intern. Now we're going to hear a song called Esreim Vesheva, or 27, if you would say it in English. It's by Chen Cohen. Enjoy this song and have a great and productive day.
זה לא איך שרציתי שיהיו כל החיים שלי, קשה אבל אני לא איך שחשבתי שיהיו המאבקים שלי, חשבתי שזה לא אמור לקרות. אז מה יהיה? אולי אני צריך להתבגר, לחלום בלילה ולקום, מישהו